So this will be a tutorial on how to make a hitbox system in Godot. Now, I'm actually using this system in my game Evor right now, and we're obviously not going to cover all the visual effects and whatever, but the goal is to give you guys a good base so that you can really flesh out your own hitbox system. Okay, so I'm in a pretty basic project right now. It's not exactly empty. I do have like a player scene, an enemy scene, and really the only prerequisites to setting the system up are that your enemy and your player both have to have some sort of a health system. So if you want a super basic setup, you could literally just make a health variable and a damage variable. If you want something a bit more advanced, I do have a stats tutorial where you can implement like a really modular stats system, and that's actually what I'm using for this tutorial. But this is really all I have. Any stats system is going to work with your game as long as you have like a health variable and a damage variable. So with that out of the way, the first thing we want to do is set up the collision layers. Now for this hitbox system, we really only need the Hurtbox layers, and it's because hitboxes are essentially going to be scanning for Hurtboxes. So the hitbox itself won't actually be on a layer, just the Hurtbox. So go to your project settings, scroll all the way down under 2D physics, and I've just made one called enemy Hurtbox and another for player Hurtbox. It doesn't matter which ones these are as long as you have these two layers named. And we'll close out of this, go into the scripts folder, and I'm going to make a new script. This is going to be our hitbox script first. So I'm going to call this hitbox.gd, and it's going to extend from the area 2D class. We'll hit create, and inside of this script, I first want to add a class name. So I'm going to type at the top class underscore name hitbox extends area 2D. And we want hitbox creation to be a really streamlined process. So I'm going to be using the init function so that we can basically just call new on the hitbox class and get a hitbox object. So we need a couple variables that we are going to initialize the hitbox with. So the first variable is going to be called attacker stats, and I'm going to make the type my stats script. Now, again, if you don't have a stats script, I would either recommend checking out my video tutorial on how to make a stats system. Otherwise, this could just be like your damage value. So you could rename this to damage and make it an integer, but this variable will just be the source for like how much damage this hitbox is actually going to deal. We next need the lifetime of the hitbox. So I'm going to call it hitbox underscore lifetime. This one's going to be a float. And then we need the shape of the hitbox. So I'm going to say var shape, and it's going to be a shape 2D class. And then I'm going to add a note here really quick because we'll get to this in a second. But we're going to add hitbox logging, and this is a super important feature that I'm going to get to later, obviously, but it's going to fix a super common problem that you will have with a standard hitbox system. So now that we have our variables set up, we can make the init function. So I'm going to type func init, and inside of here I want to define all these variables as arguments essentially. So I'm going to put the underscore at the start of them just to have a little bit different naming convention. So this first one's going to be attacker stats, which is a stats component. We're next going to have hitbox underscore lifetime, which is a float just like above, and we also have the shape, which is the shape 2D class. Now inside of this init function, I want to simply initialize all of those values for this object. So I just say attacker stats, which is the variable, is equal to underscore attacker stats, and do the same thing with hitbox lifetime equal to underscore hitbox lifetime, and also shape is equal to underscore shape. And this is just going to set up the initial values of the object. Now from here, we can go down a bit and define the ready function. And all we want to do in the ready function is make sure monitorable, which basically dictates if this shape can be detected by other shapes. We're going to set it equal to false. Because this is a hitbox, it's going to be the one detecting other shapes rather than being detected, if that makes sense. And then lastly, we just want to connect the area entered signal, which is built into the area 2D class, to a new function. So area entered.connect, and we'll call this new function on area entered. Now we obviously need to define this on area entered function. So I'm going to hide the output here, copy this name, scroll down a bit, and we'll type func on area entered. And the only argument we need is the area, which is going to be of type area 2D. And this function is going to return void. And inside of this function is now where we would define the code for actually attacking a Hurtbox. So for now, we're just going to pass, but this would basically assume that we are colliding with a Hurtbox. So before we do that, there's a couple more things we have to set up in the ready function. We have the hitbox lifetime and the shape, but those obviously aren't corresponding to any real world values. So we're going to make a new section inside of ready, and this will basically just check if hitbox lifetime is greater than 0.0, which means if there is a lifetime for the hitbox. Now, if that's the case, we're going to make a new timer node. So var new timer is equal to timer.new. We're going to add that new timer to the scene with add child new timer. And then we're going to connect the timeout signal to the queueFree method. So we're going to say new timer dot timeout dot connect to queueFree. And make sure to delete the parentheses here. Now we obviously have to start the timer. So I'm going to say new timer dot call deferred, and the function we want to call is the start function, and we'll be passing in the hitbox lifetime as the argument. We next need to assign the shape of the hitbox. So I'm going to go down here again, and we're going to say if shape, which means if there is a valid shape for this hitbox. We're going to make a new collision shape with var collision shape is equal to collision shape dot new. We next need to assign the shape of the collision shape. So we're going to say collision shape dot shape is equal to shape. And again, we're assigning it to the shape that we have stored here, which is assigned through the init function. And just like with the timer, we need to add it as a child of this object. So we say add child collision shape. Now with that set up, there's one more like initial setup thing we have to do. And that is like, where does this hitbox actually hit? Because if you're an enemy, then this hitbox wants to hit the player. And if you're a player, then it obviously wants to hit the enemy hurtboxes. So the way I'm handling this is inside of my stat script, I have this faction, and I basically have a faction that I can assign to any entity in my game. You can obviously handle this however you want, but I just find having a faction to be the easiest way. So if you want to set that up, you just make a faction enum with all of your different faction types, and then obviously have a variable that stores their faction. But back in my hitbox, I'm going to be using that variable to determine like which hurtbox layer we actually want to target. So I'm going to add one more section inside of my ready function. Let's make a bit of space down here so I can scroll down. Now, when you make an area 2D initially, it has its collision layer and collision mask value set to 1. So ideally, we want to disable that before we do any other collision management. So I always do these two lines where we just set collision layer value. The layer is going to be 1, and we're setting it to false. We want to do the same thing with set collision mask value. We're setting layer 1 to false. And again, this just verifies that we don't have any layers currently. And now we can figure out what faction this entity is a part of and update the collision mask based on that. So for my setup, I'm going to say match attacker stats dot faction. Now the first case is going to be the stats class dot faction dot player. If this attacker is a player, then we want to set the collision mask value on layer 1 equal to true. So we're enabling or basically targeting the specific hurtbox layer. Now I'm not going to set it up in this video, but I'd recommend storing your layer names or values in some sort of an enum or like a dictionary or something in a constant script, just because looking at this one here, we don't know which layer this is. So I have to go back to my project settings and actually check layer 1 is enemy hurtbox. So if you do that, this makes sense that we are targeting the enemy hurtbox, but typically it's easier to just use an enum or something. So continuing with this, the second match case is going to be on stats.faction.enemy. So if we are an enemy, we want to obviously set the collision mask value on layer 2 equal to true. So that way we are targeting the player's hurtbox layer. So this is the complete setup for a hitbox in the ready function. Now, before we flesh out this on area entered function, we have to actually set up the hurtbox area. So I'm going to make another script in my scripts folder. We're going to call this one hurtbox.gd, and it's also going to inherit from the area 2D class. We'll hit create here and open this one up. And at the top, I just want to give it a class name like we did before. So class name Hurtbox extends from area 2D. And this script is going to be much shorter. So really all we need is a reference to the owner's stats so that we can apply damage, which is basically just accessing the HP value. Now, again, if you don't have stats or you have a different setup, really all we need to do is get access to whatever object contains the health value. So for my setup, I'm doing an onReady variable, and we're going to call this owner stats, and it's going to be of type stats, and we're going to set it equal to owner, which is a keyword, dot stats. So this is kind of assuming that whatever we add a hurtbox to, it has the stats property. We're next going to define the ready function. So go down here a bit, we'll type func_ready. And inside of here, we want to set monitoring to false. So before we did monitorable, this one's the opposite. So we're setting monitoring to false. And then we want to do that same thing that we did in the hitbox where we kind of set up these collision mask and collision layer values. So I'm actually going to just copy this over and paste it inside of my Hurtbox script here. It's going to change a bit though. So we do still want this like initial part where we disable all collision first. And then instead of matching the attacker stats.faction, we're going to match the faction of the owner's stats. And then I'm going to replace these. So instead of setting the mask, we're going to set the layer, and you can actually select mask and then hit Control D. That'll select the next instance. And I can just type layer here, which is pretty helpful. And the numbers should match the ones that we defined in the Hitbox script. And then from here, we just need a function that actually applies the damage, right? So we're going to go down here. We're going to call this function receive_hit. And all we need is a damage amount, which is an integer. This is going to return void. And inside of here is going to change depending on your project. Now, if you have the same setup as me, you could just say something like owner stats dot take damage and pass in the damage amount. All this function does though is literally just subtract the damage amount from the current health. So if you have a slightly different setup, it might look something like health minus equals damage. And this is basically doing the same thing, but this will obviously change a bit depending on the specific game. And really quick note, if you want a more complex damage like algorithm, I do have a video on a pretty common one that I actually use in my games. So I would recommend checking that one out next. But from here, we want to copy the name of the receive hit function because we're going to be calling this from the hitbox. So I'm going to copy this, switch back over to my hitbox script, and we're going to go all the way down to this on area entered function. So I'm going to make some space here. And inside of this function, we basically want to check if the area we're colliding with is a Hurtbox. So we can use if not area dot has method, and the method we're looking for is the one we just copied, which is the receive hit method. So if the area doesn't have that method, we just want to return and exit out of this processing. Otherwise we can continue. So the next thing we want to do is literally just call that method. So we say area dot receive hit, and the damage amount is going to be our attacker stats dot damage. So this is all going to work correctly now, and there's one more really big problem that we're going to solve in a second, but I kind of need to show you like what the issue is before we get into that. So let's look at actually making a hitbox. Like I said before, I have a super basic player. It's literally just a node and it's a character body. So I attached like a super simple movement script. And this is the chunk where I'm actually making a hitbox. So whenever you want to create a hitbox in your game, you can say var hitbox is equal to hitbox.new. This is like the creation function. And then you can kind of hover over this, but it gives you all of the arguments that you need to initialize a hitbox with. So I'm just passing in my stats, which is the stats of the player, as the attacker stats, and then 0.5 as the lifetime, and also the hitbox shape as the shape of the hitbox. Now for hitbox shape, you could obviously like create your own circle shape or do a polygon or whatever you want, but I just made an export variable for it for the sake of the video. So if I click on my player node, I actually defined the hitbox shape in my inspector right here. But if I press the attack key, it's going to actually make this hitbox. So let's test it out. If I run the game and I move around, I should be able to attack, and it makes a hitbox for half a second that will hit enemies, which is super nice. If you're wondering how I set up the health bars, I can open that quick. It's literally just a progress bar, but this is the code for that. Super simple. Now I'm going to have all the project files on my Patreon if you do want to like download this and see exactly what's going on, but pretty basic health bar system. I'm sure most of you can figure out. So now we're on to that problem that I was going to mention. So what exactly is the case? You can see I have this block of code. I'm going to uncomment this out, and we're going to basically comment out this line and also remove this from here. Essentially, I want to, whenever this key is pressed, make a attack that has multiple hitboxes. In this case, it's going to have 3 hitboxes. And the issue is, if you can actually see, I go into the game, and if I click on that key, it makes 3 hitboxes, but they're all going to damage the enemy. And that's not exactly right, because the idea was that they're all part of the same attack. Just for efficiency, I wanted the attack to have like multiple hitboxes. That way, if I had like a swing attack, I could just make a couple circles rather than making like a polygon, which is obviously more like intense to actually process the collisions. So this is super common with hitboxes. We basically want to say all of these hitboxes belong to the same group, which means if this entity has already gotten hit by the specific group, then it just doesn't register that attack. And we can do this with what's called a HitLog. So we're going to go back into the editor, and I'm going to go into my file system and make one more script. This is going to be hitlog.gd, and it's going to inherit from ref counted. Now you can inherit from resource if you want, but I just use ref counted because we don't really need much inside of this class. So I'm going to create this, open it up, and we're going to give it a class name just like before. So class underscore name, we're going to call this HitLog, and it extends ref counted. And this script is super simple. So it literally just stores an array of which entities it has hit, and it has helper functions for actually accessing that data. But we literally just need one variable called hit underscore log. It's going to be an array, and we're going to set it equal to a blank array by default. And then we'll make one function called has hit, and we'll give it a target. So we'll say like if we have hit this specific node, which is obviously going to return a bool. And inside of here, you can literally just say return hitlog dot has node. And then we'll do one more for actually registering a hit. So we're going to say function log hit, give it the target node that has been hit, and this is going to return void. But this one's super simple. We just say hitlog.append node. So to actually utilize the script, we have to go back into the hitbox. So I'm going to save this, go to the hitbox script, and right where I put this note at the top, we also need a variable in place of this for the hitlog that we are using. The type is going to be the HitLog class like I made before. And we need to remember to pass this into the initialize function. So I'm going to make one more argument inside of init. We're going to call it underscore hitlog. The type is going to be the hitlog class, just like we did with the variable. And all we're going to do in the init is once again assign hitlog, which is our variable, equal to the argument, which is underscore hitlog. Now I'm also going to make an initial value for the argument. So I'm going to go to the side here again. On the hitlog argument, I can just say equals null. This way, if we don't want to use a hitlog, like if the attack just has one hitbox, it will just default to no hitlog at all, which is kind of ideal, I guess. And to actually use this, we then go all the way down to the on area entered function, and we'll make a bit more space here, but it's super simple. We just add a little bit of code between the start and the end of this function. We first need to get the Hurtbox owner because that's the thing that's actually going to be logged inside of the hitlog. So we're going to say var Hurtbox owner, and it's going to be equal to area.owner. And then we next check if we have a hitlog, which is obviously like if we're doing a multi-hit attack. Then we first check if the hitlog dot has hit the Hurtbox owner. Then we just want to return, which means we never actually register this hit. But if we have not hit the Hurtbox owner yet, then we want to say else, and it's simply going to be hitlog.log hit, and we're going to log the Hurtbox owner to the hitlog object. So with that system set up, we can now utilize it back in the player script. So if you remember, right when I was making 3 hitboxes, assuming these are like for the same attack, I can uncomment out this variable. This basically just initializes a new hitlog object, and then I can pass this hitlog in to my hitbox.new function. So I can say the fourth argument is my hitlog, and since all of these hitboxes, all 3 of them will be using the same hitlog object, it's going to assume that they're part of the same attack, which means if I actually, hit these enemies with that multi-hitbox attack, it's only going to register a single hit rather than applying the damage 3 times, which is just what we want. So again, that's super useful for more complicated hitbox shapes. Obviously, you don't want to define a polygon to be the exact shape of the attack. You want to do either like squares or rectangles or circles just to make things a bit more efficient. And you can just use multiple of them with this system, which is super useful. A couple quick notes and things I would recommend. Obviously, like I said earlier, is inside of like the hitbox and the hurtbox, whenever we're setting these collision mask and layer values, I would just recommend storing that in like a constants class where you have a dictionary, and instead you would just say something like when we set the collision mask to the enemy one, it would just be like enemy underscore Hurtbox, and that way you wouldn't have magic numbers all over the place. And then if you want to add like more common systems to this hitbox system, you do most of that in this receive hit function. So like if you wanted to do a critical hit, right? You could do something like if randi range from 0 to 1, which is our chance, you could say like if it's smaller than 0.1, then we would do a critical hit. So for this, we would literally just want to like multiply the damage by whatever your critical hit multiplier is, and then instead of passing the attacker stats.damage, we'd probably just want to like store this in a damage variable like so, pass the damage in here, and then if it's a critical hit, we would obviously say like damage times equals 1.1 or something like that. So the system's really flexible. You can really do a lot with it, but I feel like this is really the bare bones that would apply to most games. And from here, it really depends heavily on what type of a project you're making. So hopefully this tutorial gave you a really good base. This was a super long tutorial, so if you ended up making it all the way through, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe for more Godot related content, and also check out the links in the description. I do like one-on-one tutoring through my website if you want to check that out. And we also have a community Discord if you want to get help with your Godot project or just talk about game dev, so I would definitely join that. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, but if you do want all these project files, I did put them on my Patreon. Obviously you can get everything for free if you just want to follow the tutorial, but if you do end up supporting the channel, you will get this entire project for free if you want to kind of see what's going on under the hood. And if you are supporting the channel as either a Patreon or a channel member, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support. You guys are awesome, and obviously the support is super appreciated. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.